Hey Axis and Allies players, the good captain here. Welcome to my final video for this game of East and West. My opponent has conceded part of the way through the Soviet turn 4 combat move, so I will go through everything up to and including what happened and then do a brief review. So the Soviets roll their free counterintelligence dice roll and miss. That's a score of 1. They get to kill off a spy. That's just by the game rule. And then their tech roll is a 2, so they're halfway to self-propelled artillery, pushing it up to a 33% chance of that breakthrough on the following turn. The purchase, the Soviets take 68 IPCs and purchase 34 infantry. And the combat move is what I expected, a lot of cleanup. Over in the East, you have to do this as the Soviet player. Even if you don't want to, you have to disable the American ability to grow infantry on the recently captured territories. Excuse me. There's 7 fighters. This is a complete smash over here in Pakistan. So there you go. And this is not surprising either. This is a walk-in for Saudi Arabia, so the Soviets will just go up 4 there, and the Western Europeans will go down 4. So I'll just adjust this so we can 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not that it matters, but 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And then up here in Norway, again, blocker clearance, or just basically cleaning things out. Same here in Yugoslavia. This was the move that I was wondering if my opponent would see this, and he did, so kudos. I completely agree. This is the right move. A time to attack Switzerland. Move these 23 infantry in. The Swiss will activate as blue pieces at the point of attack. He brought them out as neutrals, but the neutrals will activate as blue pieces because they activate based on the vague rule of the closest power. Closest power is obviously Western Europe, so they would be blue. But anyway, a fighter and 3 infantry defend there. And when it got to rolling dice, this was the first battle he picked. And there is just over a 50% chance that, or just under, I can't remember, that these 23 infantry blast every Swiss piece, on the first round of combat. And not only did the Soviets miss that, but they only picked up 1 kill. The Swiss fired back and scored 2 hits on the first round, and then another round of Soviets scored only 1 hit again. The Swiss fired back and scored another 2 hits, and then finally in the third round, the Russians took out the final 2 pieces, but again, the third round, 2 dice rolled by the Swiss, 2 more hits. So it ended up being that 6 Soviets got knocked off from that, so that there was only 17 remaining. Whoops. So that we look like this at the end of the so far, and then this is the point where it's 66 technically. All the rest of these battles are going to be more than likely you're going to be smashes. It's just a question of how many assets did the Soviets lose. That was a gut punch. That is what I call to lose 6 pieces in this way is what I call an off the spectrum possibility. It was less than a 0.5%, or it was a 0.5% chance of this occurrence, which is just off the scale, I would say, of probability. Generally, if a thing can happen more than 1% of the time, it's on the spectrum is what I call it. But this was an off the spectrum result. But even then, I wouldn't call this devastating. So here I'll just explain why this was probably the correct move. These armor can then move in and reinforce, and that technically they still can, but it will be cutting it close. The Western European counterattack is going to be close, and the main reason I think, or at least part of the reason, I think that this game wrapped up in part due to that demoralizing result was also that there was kind of a question of this strategy working from the jump, but the main thing was, what do we do with India, right? We have the NATO is strong in force over here now, or at least they've built up, as you can see it, but they're almost equally as strong, or just slightly less strong at the moment in India, and the fleet gives quite a bit of flexibility. It is a confounding task, and my opponent sent his concession on those 2 points, and I accepted. So this was East and West. It seems to me, we've played many games now, and it does seem to me that this version of Axis and Allies is fast and brutal. One side usually gains the upper hand over the other inside the first, or around the, inside or up to 6 to 8 turns, something like that. And there's a lot of drama with regards to the third dimension. If you score, above the average, like if you score more than your share of ones, that can put you at a significant edge on the strategic map, and vice versa. Now, as it turns out, the NATO had essentially 2 breakthroughs out of 9 dice hucked. We scored 2, which is like a 45% chance, so definitely inside the realm of possibility. The Soviets did manage to pull anti-tank guns, but they hucked less dice, the total of 7 by the time we got to the end of the game instead of 9, so they scored 1.5, right? So both sides, I would say proportionately, in that third dimension scored with respect to the numbers invested. And, my hat is off to my opponent. First and foremost, I have total respect for anybody who plays the game, any version of Axis and Allies. There are, for every 10 to 15 people, especially on Facebook, I noticed this, who talk about playing, probably one of those people actually plays. And so, just out of the gate, anybody that throws dice has I'm always in that person's corner, even if they could be, tough to get along with. I don't care. That person plays, I got their back. And another thing I'll say about the Janus is this is a big difference between he and I, and much respect to him and people who are like this, but he is a tinkerer. He is a game theorist. He never does the same thing twice. As I mentioned in this game, this is the first time I've seen him, it's been theorized, but what if you attacked one of the neutral alliances? I sort of alluded to this in a previous video. I was worried that it makes too many enemies, but there was a substantial IPC gain here. I mean, the Soviets did end up here with 3 of the 5 yellow territories, a tenuous hold, but a hold all the same. One thing I did learn is that sort of once this happened, I had to sit and stare at it for a while, but I did realize that this position in the Jordan is critical. So if the Soviets do attack, this territory here is just so strategically vital. I think it's the most important of the Arab League territories, at least as far as determining who controls the Middle East and Africa goes, because it has access to all of the other territories. It literally touches every other Arab League. It's a juncture, right? You can't go around this. And finally, it controls the Suez Canal. So if the Western, I did initially think I would have to fall back into Egypt and try to keep the Soviets out of Africa, but as I stared at it a little bit more, I realized this was a critical piece of ground strategically, up to and including sacrificing Saudi Arabia with its 4 IPCs. It was clearly more important that we hold this. Just imagine yourself as the Soviet player, the difficulty of trying to protect all 3 of these, right? We can strike anywhere at all times. So you can't, it's hard to mass. It would be difficult to mass up. And yeah, I mean, not to say that it's impossible, just that, it's going to be hard to get something like this right on the first pass. That's, somebody like the Janus is definitely into that kind of stuff, and Whereas in contrast, I'm just hard line. If it works, I keep using it. I will make small adjustments here and there as I learn more about a game, but once I see something work, I'll keep punching in that direction until somebody, an opponent eventually shows me how it doesn't work. I aim everything kind of towards the win. If it wins, I don't care what it is or who's propagating this strategy. That's what I'm using. But that's not the best. Probably not the best for that game overall. Like you need experimenters, and so that's what he does. And he and I are going to both be better for this. And we both now have experience with this Arab League move. Anyway, I could keep going, but I don't want to. We're going to start a new game. I will be the Soviets, the Janus will be NATO. That will be up in a few days. I'll post on Facebook as an announcement, but if you really want to follow along, just make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'm not going to announce it on the primary. Thanks for watching this. All the best from the good captain, and bye-bye.